Joining us now are Purna Malawat, who scaled Mount Everest at the age of 13. Prakash Amte, social worker, medical director of Lok Biradri Prakalp. Prince Laksharaj Singh Mewar, trustee Maharana Mewar Charitable Foundation. Dr. A.J. George, managing trustee Tribal Health Initiative. Ravi Bhatnagar, director External Affairs and Partnership, Reckitt. And Subodh Gupta, head Department of Community Medicine, Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, Sevagram. Mr. Bachchan, I think you had a question for Purna.
Yes. Purna, when you climbed Mount Everest, because you wanted to prove that girls can do anything, not only that, you climbed it when you were just 13 years old. I mean, that's remarkable. How did you get this resolve that I have to do this? 13 साल की उम्र में माउंट एवरेस्ट, ये तो अद्भुत हो गया एकदम.
Thank you, sir. So my journey was started in 2012 September, in the month of September. So actually, I got this opportunity through Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar sir, and actually I was studying in residential government schools. So Praveen sir came as a secretary to all the residential schools, government schools, and he wanted to show that government schools are, provide quality education and quality food and everything. So he wanted to prove that. So he wanted to prove to the parents and to the people who are not sending their kids to school. So he thought he wanted to do something big achievement. He wanted with the students. So he started Operation Everest, and he thought about to send us, to mountain adventure sports, and he gave a proposal to all the schools. I think there was more than 300 schools in Andhra and Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So I was in 9th grade when he started this program, and I used to play sports, and I mostly like volleyball, kabaddi and athletics. So my physical director ma'am selected me for this adventure sports, and I started in 2013 and I was 13.
बड़ी ट्रेनिंग करनी पड़ी होगी आपको इसके लिए. और इतनी कम उम्र में एक ट्रेनिंग का जो रेजिमेंटेशन होता है, how did you adapt to that? I mean, it's really tough, isn't it?
So after had this opportunity, I never expected that I'll become a youngest girl after climbing Mount Everest. I never expected that I will become that youngest girl in the world.
Gee.
So I never know that I'll become that. But I just, when I got this opportunity, and the biggest turning point came around me, and after my initial basic training was completed successfully, and we climbed 4,880 meters peak Mount Renock. That was my very first peak that I summited in Darjeeling. So after that, I was decided that I want to prove that girls can do anything.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Your parents never felt that there should be some difference because you're a girl, you can't be doing this.
Yeah,
no kind of differentiation at all.
There was a lot of differentiation in villages. Differentiation batata hai villages mein, but my parents, we are only two, me and my brother, elder brother. So my parents are always supportive to me. I'm very lucky to have them, and they always support me whatever I do.
And I'm very lucky because we have a photograph here.
Yes, we do, and it played out. वो picture दोबारा चलाते हैं. वो screen पर वो picture दोबारा चलाते हैं जो अभी थोड़ी देर पहले चली थी. ये देखिए.
Yeah.
That's the girl who played Purna, Aditi.
Yes.
With the real Purna. And yourself, sir, and somebody who's just come into the frame just because he's dying.
Yeah, I was going to say that about myself.
But let me just say one thing to you, sir, about how she started.
Yeah.
That Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar felt that there was that nobody wanted to send their kids to these social welfare and tribal schools. So what happened post her ascending Everest? Earlier there was a massive vacancy in these schools. मतलब भर्ती के लिए बच्चे 11-13 साल से निकल जाते थे. They used to go into the fields to work, get married and things. But after she climbed, there was a wait list.
Wow.
To get into these schools.
Wow.
So that's the profound
change.
change.
That's fantastic.
That's a transformation. आप बने रहिए सब हमारे साथ, हम आगे चर्चा जारी रखेंगे, लेकिन let's now cut across live to our colleague Maya Sharma, who is with a bunch of young and enthusiastic people who are every bit as gritty as you. Maya.
Well, we are in Krishnagiri district of Tamil Nadu, a beautiful part of the state. We've driven through rocks and greenery to get here, paddy fields as well, to a very special location with some really fantastic young athletes here at this school. This is the Snehagram School of Residential Schools for Children who have been living with HIV. The focus, of course, on sports. The focus very much on sports. Joining us, Elvis Joseph, who is the director of Bangalore School Sports Foundation and the founder of Project Champion. I can see everybody in these lovely red Champion in Me shirts. What is that about? What is Champion in Me?
Great. Thank you very much. Champion in Me is a sports program exclusively for children and youth living with HIV. This is the first of its kind project which was initiated way back in 2009 to empower the lives of children and youth, building up the immunity, working on the psychosocial aspect, on the self-esteem and getting them to the mainstream. This was the key objectives of the project which started in align with Sneha Charitable Trust, which is a program jointly which was done together to build this program for children across the country.
Now, of course, we're talking about a time of a pandemic. COVID does affect those who are more vulnerable, and children with HIV may be considered more vulnerable. But I see you're really focusing on building up their physical strength.
Yes. Despite the COVID, because this program working on immunity was the key factor to it. During COVID, pre-COVID, COVID and now post-COVID, we have adapted to the new normal in understanding what are the key things that is needed to protect our immunity first. Those were the key things that we focused on, and we built around it a program and following all the procedures with the COVID norms.
Fantastic, fantastic. Lakshmikant, what is your daily schedule like? I can see there's a lot of running around going on. Yes. What is your daily schedule like?
So the daily schedule is we get up in the morning 5:45, fresh up, then 6 we come in the ground. Till about 1.5 hours we have different drills, different workouts. Each day we have different kind of trainings what we do. Later we fresh up, go have breakfast, then we get back to our class. Till 1 we have class, then we do some co-curricular activities after the lunch. Again we get back to our tea break. Then later we again do sports. We play basketball, volleyball, cricket, and other games we play. Later again we fresh up, get back to studies. And by 10 o'clock, we conclude our day.
Fantastic. That's a lovely mixture of sports, really, and education as well. Now, Kaneshwar, there is, of course, a feeling that children, people living with HIV may not have the physical strength, may not be fit enough for competitive sports. What would you like to say to that?
I think it is the work to do with perceptions. Yeah. Being the perception word, when I use the perception, it can be also changed. I think all those who want to really understand the life of a HIV-related person, I think he has to step into our campus. This is such a beautiful campus where you see students really being enthusiasm and having lots of energy and courage to do anything that we wanted to achieve. So I think it's just the perception. It can be changed. It can be changed.
It can be changed, absolutely. And do you have to have a special diet with all of the fitness that you do? Do you watch out what you eat? Do you have to be very careful?
Really, yes. We do need a special diet because whatever we eat is what we become. That's what I believe in. And whatever we grow in the institution, the organic food that we grow is the most healthiest one because it's grown in our hands. And focusing on health and hygiene, eating healthy and hygienic is also our right.
Absolutely. So food grown here itself, and during the pandemic, extra challenges, Neha, in terms of what you need to do?
We need to develop our confidence in ourselves and have a fit life that we can live ourselves.
Absolutely, yes. And hygiene also very important, Ambika?
Yes, hygiene is a very important thing. In this situation at present, COVID is a major issue now that we are facing. In this, if we are aware about the simple precautions such as washing of hands, using of the regular mask, and maintaining social distance and cleanliness of the environment, one can really keep itself or ourselves.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, from this school in Krishnagiri district, a school specially for children living with HIV, with a focus on physical strength and energy, vital during the time of the pandemic, and there's certainly inspirations to all of us.
Thank you so much, Maya. Now let's go across to Laksharaj Singh. Laksharaj, our campaign's focus is on leaving no one behind, and you have been committed to social causes for years now. Tell us a little about the work you do, especially with the tribal populations.
Greetings, and at the end of the day, I think how your community develops, how people around you develop is exceptionally very, very important. And especially now with education and sanitization, these two things must go hand in glove, and people need to be educated about sanitization and how they need to keep healthy, not just for themselves, but also for people and society around them. So that is where predominantly the work has been taking place.
Hi, this is Rahul here. We believe you hold 4 Guinness Book records. The most recent one being for the donation of most personal hygiene products in 1 hour. Fantastic. But how challenging has it been to work with these extremely vulnerable communities during the pandemic?
It certainly has been a challenge. I wouldn't say that it's been an easy journey, but I think the fact that people are just not aware about cases is what we really need to do. So sometimes when we are in metropolitan cities or tier 2 cities, we have a completely different impression of certain things on the ground. But the moment you move away from villages and move away from towns, it's a completely different world where I think it's just a lack of awareness that is what needs to be predominantly worked on. And especially in villages, people are scared, not because of any other reason, because they just don't know. And I certainly feel, and that's what we've really been working on. And I'm a firm believer of the fact that if the 19th century belongs to the UK, if the 20th century belongs to the United States of America, the 21st century will belong to India. That is only and only going to be through the route of education. And we really need to make sure that our masses that are living in rural India, in outside of towns and cities, in villages, are the ones that we really need to uplift, take them into our fold, make that effort, because of the journey of 1,000 miles will begin the first step.
Okay. I want to ask Prakash Amte ji. Prakash Amte ji, pranam. एक बार फिर आपसे मुलाकात हो रही है. You know, we were talking earlier about how the fight against smallpox, polio, count amongst one of the India's most good and healthy successes. 75 years of health and hygiene में हमने ये उपलब्धि प्राप्त की. But this conversation will not be complete without talking about Baba Amte ji and his fight against leprosy. You know, he truly worked with the most vulnerable patients who had been diseased with leprosy, who had been shunned. अलग कर दिया था उनको समाज से, cast out by society. Would you say that our fight against leprosy and the stigma that has always been attached to it remains one of our public health challenges? एक ही बहुत बड़ी चुनौती है.
हाँ, 50s में, of course, my father Baba Amte, though he was the son of a landlord और वकालत करते थे, और because he was inspired by महात्मा गांधी, एक दिन उन्होंने लेप्रोसी पेशेंट देखा रास्ते पे, उसमें काफी सारे मैगट्स थे, इंजरीज थी, एंड ही गॉट स्कैर्ड. तो ये जो है, किसी को जीवन में टर्निंग पॉइंट कैसा आ सकता है कि जो आदमी खुद को बहुत हिम्मतवान समझता है, एक हेल्पलेस आदमी से डर गया, तो फिर वापस आके उसने उनको उठा के अपने घर में लेके उनकी सेवा की. एंड देन ही डिसाइडेड दैट कल मुझे मेरे वाइफ और बच्चों को यदि लेप्रोसी होगी तो मैं उनको रास्ते पे फेंक दूंगा. यू नो, टर्निंग पॉइंट इन हिज लाइफ. सो ही स्टार्टेड महारोगी सेवा समिति in 1949. And why he started? Because during that period, a leprosy patient in a house was a taboo. So everybody in the house, in the village, in the society, they used to drive them out. So ये सब लोग मंदिर के सामने या चर्चेस के सामने भीख मांगते थे. तो बाबा ने जब ये स्टार्ट किया तो धीरे धीरे उसकी जैसी पब्लिसिटी हो गई तो लोग पूरे भारत से आनंदवन, चंद्रपुर जिले में है वो, वहाँ आने लगे. The most important thing बाबा का ये था कि इन लोगों में जो भीख मांगते थे उनमें से कॉन्फिडेंस कैसा जगाए, और इसलिए उनका पॉलिसी था वर्क विद द पीपल। उनको ले जाके वो खुद काम शुरू करते थे और बाद में वो लेप्रोसी पेशेंट उनको हेल्प करते। दो हैंडीकैप थे फिर भी थोड़ा सा तो काम कर सकते थे, क्लॉइंग था, इंजरीज थी, लेकिन उससे जो उनको जो निर्मित का आनंद मिल रहा था, कॉन्फिडेंस आ गया था, और वो धीरे धीरे नंबर बढ़ते गया, लोग आने गए। शुरू में तो बाबा को तो सबने बाइकआउट किया था, इंक्लूडिंग हिज होल फैमिली। और 10 साल के बाद में हम छोटे थे, मैं और मेरा बड़ा भाई विकास, हम लोग बड़ा आइसोलेशन में थे, लेकिन 10 साल के बाद काफी लोग आने लगे। और देन आनंदवन हैज ऑलमोस्ट बिकम ए पिकनिक स्पॉट, लेप्रोसी कॉलोनी। तो अवेयरनेस बेसिकली जो टैबू था वो कम हो गए। रिसर्च के बाद में अच्छी दवाई आने लगी, और आज की जो हालत ऐसी है कि यू टेक अर्ली ट्रीटमेंट, नोबडी वुड एवर हैव डिफॉर्मिटीज। डिफॉर्मिटी की टैबू लोगों में थी सोसाइटी में, सो यू नीड नॉट सेंड देम आउट एंड एडमिट देम टू लेप्रोसोरियम। सो ये बाबा का बहुत बड़ा योगदान था सोसाइटी के लिए, टैबू कम करे, उनमें से उनका कॉन्फिडेंस जगाए। और उसके बाद में बाबा ने ही डिड नॉट लिमिट हिमसेल्फ विथ ओनली लेप्रोसी। दिव्यांग जैसे आप कहते हैं, फिजिकली हैंडीकैप, डम एंड डेफ, मेंटली हैंडीकैप, सबको मिला के एक बड़ा एक कम्यून चंद्रपुर जिले में आनंदवन के नाम से जाना जाता है। और उसके बाद में इन्हीं से प्रेरणा से फिर हम लोग ये ट्राइबल एरिया में आके गढ़चिरौली जिले के भामरागढ़ एरिया में यहाँ काम शुरू किया।
जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका। I'd like to ask Dr. Reggie George a question. What you and your wife, Dr. Lalita, have achieved through your organization, Tribal Health Initiative, is another very inspiring example of what can be achieved in community health with the right will and the right approach. You started with many challenges, of course. You had no money, just a small little hut for a hospital, tribal superstitions, which is, very grave, loneliness. You also had absolutely nobody to help you. How did you manage all this?
There was nobody, no trained nurses, no trained lab technicians to come and work with us. So and there were schools only till 8th standard. So we trained the local girls and boys here to start nursing, to start lab technician, X-ray, accounts, administration. So even now, Tribal Health Initiative, one of the good things about Tribal Health Initiative is that 95% of our staff are tribal boys and girls from the local areas, who later went and passed 10th standard, and then went and did registered courses and came back and started work with us. So finding staff to come and manage all these. So I am by profession an anesthetist, and I also trained in surgery, while Lalita is a gynecologist. So we were capable of doing many things. Yes. But we did not have enough people to, do these things. Now, gradually, as the staff trained and came back, we actually trained them to the local needs and diseases. So we did not teach them a lot of things. We said, what is there in our forests, the diseases? Let us train for that. And so the main things we encountered was infant mortality and maternal mortality. So how do we decrease that? The other thing we encountered was malnutrition. How do we counter that? So the teaching was only according to what was needed here. As time went by, we expanded. More and more doctors came to work with us. Trained people like surgeons came to work with us. And therefore now the main challenge is now managing the crowds, because the nearest hospital where such type of work is done is still 50 kilometers off. And therefore, all the tribals now depend still on tribal hospital. So these were the main challenges we underwent once we started this.
So Dr. Reggie, we need more doctors working in the tribal areas, working in community health to improve the health outcomes of rural and tribal populations. What can we do to create more tribal health initiatives and more Sitlingi valleys?
I don't think we should be concentrating on infrastructure, because I think many governments have enough money to provide infrastructure, for example, buildings or equipment. The main problem is getting more and more doctors or nurses to come and work in rural areas. Therefore, I think the main thing is to try and inspire more and more youth to get away from the mainstream. And so we started, 3 or 4 years ago, we started something called Rural Sensitization Program. We started it on a whim because we did not know whether this would work out or not. And we send invitations for medical students to most of the medical colleges in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. And these RSP camps were for 3 days. And there were 30 seats available. We used to get about 60 to 70 people coming in. So we had this huge crowd coming in, spending 3 days in a tribal area, visiting tribal villages, seeing how rural healthcare is done, what are their problems, and things like that. And many went back inspired and said that not that they are going to work in a rural area, but we understand what rural health is about. More than that, I think the professors and the teachers who teach them should get an exposure to the rural areas because they are living in their, what I would call ivory towers, and not realizing what rural India really needs. And therefore, I think the question is now is to change medical education or the focus of medical education from a tertiary setup into a taluk hospital setup at least. So if you can get postgraduates or even during your graduation, go to a taluk hospital, sit there, see how work is done, and what are the common diseases, how do common people come in with what diseases do they come in, and how are they treated in a less resource centers, taluk hospitals and things like that. I think more and more people will be inspired.
Dr. Subodh, this is a question for you. As Dr. Reggie just mentioned, there's a shortage of doctors. And it's the same, sadly, with nurses and other medical staff. So how can we bring in more doctors and health workers into the rural healthcare system? We believe that the Sevagram Medical College, where you're based, has developed a model of community-based education. So just tell us more.
Sevagram Medical College was started in the Gandhi Centenary year 1969. And the main objective of the medical college was to create doctors for rural areas. And with this objective in mind, our founder director, Dr. Sushila Nair, brought in several innovations in the medical education curriculum. So we at Sevagram have very strong partnership with the community and healthcare delivery system. We have a field practice area of about 90 villages. And in these villages, we work closely with the Gram Panchayat, Village Health Nutrition Sanitation Committee, women's self-help groups, adolescent groups, and many others community-based organizations. And for students, we have a camp-based approach. We conduct 3 camps for our medical students. The first camp is when they join the medical college, immediately after that. And our students stay for 2 weeks in the Gandhi Ashram, and they are taught Gandhian ideology at that time. For each batch of medical students, we also adopt a village. And in this village, each student is allocated 3 to 5 families. Just if we think about medical students, most of them come from urban areas, and many have not seen a village in their lifetime. So this provides them with an opportunity to learn about rural life. They learn about the health needs of the rural masses, their socioeconomic status, their cultural practices, their health-seeking behaviors, etc. And this does not stop with the 2 weeks camp, but our students follow up these families for another 3.5 years. So during this period, they also learn more about rural health, and they learn how to persuade individuals, families, and communities to for a healthy lifestyle. So this is what happens. And then we have a third camp when our students are in their third year of medical education. And during this period, we expose them to the rural healthcare delivery system. They visit the primary health centers, sub-centers. They interact with the healthcare providers in these centers. They also meet the Anganwadi workers, ASHA, and they learn from them how they serve in the rural areas. Earlier, our founder director, Dr. Sushila Nair, had also started a rural placement scheme. So all doctors, after they complete their MBBS course, will be posted with an NGO working in rural area and for 2 years before they are eligible for a post-graduation program. But with PG NEET entrance, this scheme has stopped. We'd like to initiate this scheme as well.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask a few questions to Ravi. Ravi, you started this campaign, Reach Each Child campaign, which talks about malnutrition. And your campaign, it operates in the interiors of Maharashtra. So what kind of responses have you been getting?
It's a very interesting question, sir. This campaign is now 2 years old and we have seen 0 deaths.
Oh.
0 deaths, which is reported by the National Rural Health Mission. This has only been possible by, working with the tribal girls which were there. We invested heavily with the tribals. We worked with them. My colleagues and myself, we also give a lot of time going there. And always one question comes to our mind, do our children will go to the same facility?
Yeah.
So that's the big triggering point, sir.
Yeah, very interesting.
So we upgraded the facilities. We took the local artisans. We made it more beautiful. We tried to give them medical facilities which were not available. We also saw, in the Melghat region of Maharashtra, still this telephone towers and mobile network towers are not there. So if someone has to call for the emergency, what is to be done? So what we did, sir, there's small motorbikes. We have given the motorbike ambulances in the primary health centers, so that with that motorbike ambulances, in the difficult terrain, children can actually be transported, sir.
Yeah.
We have also seen something very interesting. If we are referring a child, if the child reaches to the facility early, the chances of survival increase manifold, sir.
Yes.
So what has happened is, actually it was taking around 18 to 19 days for a family to actually identify the child, and child used to become very severely malnourished. So what we said, we trained our community health volunteers. These community health volunteers try to identify the cases, the hotspots in the villages, but in their local languages, which is Pavadi and Bhil. We created all the material for them, which is also there in the local language, sir. So the referral started taking place very early, resulting into early hospitalization, early identification, early treatment starting, resulting into lower of the cases, and finally, what we have seen, there are 0 deaths, and we have requests from the various state governments to start this program in the other tribal belts. So we are going to work with the Siddhi community, sir, which Nawab of Junagadh actually got them in Bhavnagar and Jamnagar in Gujarat. We are starting the same population, this program in the state of Rajasthan with Kalbelias, Nuts, Karnats, other indigenous populations. And we are also continuing our work in the state of Maharashtra. So this model, we are trying to, take some good practices from there, and we are trying to take it to the other places now, from 1 state to 3 states now.
Yeah, what really is important, that when a child suffers, there's a huge delay in getting him to some kind of medical facility or a hospital. And some of the interior areas, they're so dense with forests, there are no roads, nothing. A lot of volunteers, as you were saying, they've got motorcycle ambulances. And I know of a gentleman in Assam who made his sidecar into a kind of a hood and a semi-bed. Wow. And he drives this thing to all over the area that he lives in. And he's on a mobile phone and he attends, it's all voluntary work. But so many good examples because of that person. And he said the main thing was to be able to get the patient to hospital in time. And this person was doing some human service to do it. So that's very interesting. And as far as nutrition is concerned, how do you verify what is being given to the kids is actually nutritious?
So very rightly said. So there are two ways of looking into this, how we see it. One is basically not to introduce something which is artificially induced into the communities. Helping them with the, community kitchens, kitchen gardens, the foods which are locally available, working towards that and telling them like how to use it, how to make it better. The problem is that the diet diversity. It's like, I can't be eating same rice and same khichdi and dal every day. So how to make it better, how to differentiate the taste, how you can add more ingredients which are all locally, available. Because mostly the regions where we are working are all forest regions, sir. So therefore, like traveling is a problem. And then the first step what we took is, we did an ethnographic study. To our surprise, in India, from the last one decade, there's not a single ethnography which is available to understand the food patterns of the tribals and resulting into malnutrition. So that was the first step, sir. So what they're eating, how we can make it better. And then there are two approaches, sir. One is like treating at the community level, treating the malnutrition at the community level where you're giving the appropriate food and encouraging moms to be healthier so that they can lactate, they can breastfeed, focusing on that. And the India average is around 60% of the women actually lactate. In our regions, the last survey actually suggests it's around 82% now. So it's always improving the first 1,000 days of the mom's and the kid's life. Improving that gives the significant indicators like the disability adjusted life years. How many life years you are able to increase. So there's scientific ways to validate that, sir.
I just feel there must be a huge amount of resistance from tribal areas and from village areas, because they're always used to surviving on what they've been used to for hundreds and hundreds of years. And then suddenly to get some kind of a modern facility, modern medication facilities, they're normally averse to it. It must be a huge task to be able to convince them. A lot of people like athletes, for example, Rahul, Abhishek is associated with, say, the Kabaddi team, and a lot of them come from, rural areas. And whenever they get injured, we immediately want to take them to hospital and say, no, humko gaon jana hai. And they go there and they actually get cured because they've got some local medication. So it must be a huge task to be able to convince the tribal area particularly, because they have set rules, regulations, way of living, everything.
So a lot of effort has actually, gone into selecting the women from the households, where we invested significantly, because the superstitions were all-time high. Not taking it to, and there is one hot chimta what they put on the child's stomach, and they burn it and they say like now child will be better. So you see a lot of marks on the child's belly, sir. So what we did, sir, we actually worked very significantly with the traditional healers. We told them it's beyond you. You can take care of the smaller things. We invest in you, and we can actually tell you like, how to check fever, temperature, and the very basic, patti karna, how to do bandage and all with the Red Cross and the Plan India. But largely like 6 months were heavily invested in understanding and telling them, you need to do the early referrals. So we introduced a system of blockchain. There's a first time introduced in India on the healthcare system in a tribal area to validate the results. And to validate like, the referrals are happening through this bhuas and the traditional healers or not. And we always see that, sir, because that's the biggest gap and that's the biggest, hindrance in the right referrals and the early referrals, sir. We have worked on that.
You need to take one small section, make it work, bring health to them, bring them into your system, and then use that as an example for the rest. I just feel it always works. When they have some kind of a reference, अरे वो गांव में तो सब ठीक हो गए तो चलो इसको follow.
And then they start following it like this.
And then the following happens.
But more luck to him because he's moved to Rajasthan and Gujarat. So obviously it's that little model
spreads,
is working.
Word spreads.
So good part is NDTV is basically following this story from when we announced the launch of this program, how the facilities were and how the facilities are. What was the number of hospitalizations which were taking place earlier and now, and actually like seeing a lot of rejoice and happiness in the community, like abhi bacche mar nahi rahe hain. from 2 years.
And a huge, I mean, you know, we've seen that transition. Infrastructure plays a huge role here. You know, because when the kids, even if they're staying there, when they're being treated for malnutrition, you can see, you know, they've got toys to play, the joy on their faces. You know, we spoke to some mothers and they were like, you know, actually our kids are becoming fine. Earlier they weren't allowed to come. The family said, you know, if the mother goes for 10 days or stays for 14 days, who will take care of the house? But when they see the child's health is improving, I mean, the transition was really fantastic. I mean, infrastructure,
Great.
So I will invite you to visit the field whenever, so you can.
Yeah, I would love to do that as soon as, you know, mobility is allowed in this pandemic. It's a huge problem.
एक सवाल मैं पूर्णा से पूछना चाहता था. पूर्णा, आप ये बताइए कि 13 साल पर आपकी जो उपलब्धि थी, in terms of health infrastructure, what do you think? What are the thoughts that came to your mind as a child? कि अगर ये ठीक हो जाता या ये व्यवस्था होती तो शायद और बच्चे स्वस्थ होते, वो और बहुत कुछ अचीव कर सकते जो आपने किया.
तो आई वुड सजेस्ट दैट I came from a rural area which we don't have bus facilities, I mean transportation facilities, and hospitals and whatever, nothing. Even for a small matchbox we have to walk 7 kilometers to buy matchbox from other village. So I saw that child marriages हो सकती है villages में, and that affects so much to the rural area people.
So when a child falls ill in Pakala or wherever, because that's where she comes from, when you were young, when you've seen, what is the nearest point of help? Has that improved in terms of a dispensary? Forget about a hospital, but at least a dispensary or then a hospital.
You know, Rahul, health को छोड़ो, वो घर में आग जलाना हो तो जाना पड़ता था 8-10 किलोमीटर.
जी.
मैं अभी किसी से मिला था, उनको तो हम जिस गांव में थे, और रात को जब चूल्हा जलाने के लिए हमको जाना पड़ता था 7-8 किलोमीटर दूर. किसी के यहाँ आग लगी है और जलती थी वहाँ पर, तो उसे लकड़ी पे आग लेकर के आते थे कि अपना चूल्हा जला सकें. When you have these kind of, shortages, I mean, how can you expect some kind of medical facility to happen there? I mean, especially for somebody who wanted to climb Mount Everest.
In the past, many years ago, there was no facilities of hospital, like there is no doctor. But after, I born in 2000, sir. So I think 15 years ago, there was one doctor. And if anyone gets sick, like fever or any problem, if anyone get any problem, he will just give a injection and some medication like tablets or like that. अगर नहीं कम होगा तो then we have to go to the hospital by walk.
Yeah.
So अभी now it's fine, better. So still there is no doctor in my village, but we can go by, there is a transportation facility and we can go to the doctor.
So at least that change is coming. A lot more needs to be done, like you said. Thank you so much, Poorna, for coming and sharing your experience with us. Rahul, it's been a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And Ravi, you're going to be joining us. Thank you so much.